Well, hey there, idiots. Welcome back to Observe, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at the body language evolution of Sean McLaughlin, or Jacksepticeye, throughout his years on YouTube. Now, he has spent many years on YouTube and uploaded thousands and thousands of videos. And needless to say, he has changed dramatically over the years, and not for the worst. Now, for those of you who might not know what Sean does, what Jacksepticeye does, he is a gaming commentary channel largely, although he has also now brought in more series to flesh out his channel to being more than just playing games and talking about it, to being able to have commentary on memes, funny videos, so on and so forth. Now, back when he started the channel, he was quite young, and then over the past 8 years, a lot has changed. He has developed as a person and matured in personality and way that he composes himself on camera. Today, I'm going to be looking at his body language throughout the annals of time to show you where he has changed and whether or not it's been a good thing or a bad thing. But I think that's enough jibber jabber about this. Let's go ahead and start watching the actual content.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there. My name is Jacksepticeye, and in this video, I'm going to talk about horror games.
Okay. Okay. All right, Sean. A really strong start here. So this isn't the first facecam video that he has, but it is one of the first talking head style videos that he has, so it makes it the best for nonverbal communication reading. And right off the bat, speaking of that nonverbal communication, there's a few things that really leap out to me nonverbally, and that also includes in his tone. So let's talk about his tone for a second. You can hear he's really pushing. He's forcing his vocal cords to perform in a way that they're not really grown to do. He doesn't have that raspy of a voice, and it's coming across as very strained. So that hello kind of thing, that is forced, it's fake. And he's also trying to add energy into his voice without it actually matching his nonverbal communication. So this is a common mistake by people who are new to performing on camera, is they will try to perform, but it's very desynchronized. So his voice is pushing energy, though it does sound very forced, but his face and his body language don't line up. His gestures with his hands are very stilted, and then if you look at his face, across the face, it's not synchronized whatsoever. The eyes remain emotionless, the eyebrows are doing their own thing, and his mouth isn't showing the same strain that his vocal cords are. And that just means that this is extremely forced all the way around, 100% a persona. And Jack, or Sean, has gone on video before and said that he was indeed really forcing this, and he was very insecure about what he felt like and how he presented himself. He was very insecure of his accent especially. And that makes sense from what we see and what we hear, with his tone being so altered, so strained, so forced, it's masking his accent somewhat, and that's all just based out of insecurity, not only on a personal level, as Sean has said, but also on a performance level. It's just based out of an inability to be comfortable on camera. Not unheard of, very common. Let's keep watching to see what else unearths about very young Sean here.
But more specifically, what makes a good horror game, and what a horror game should do and what it should not do. First off, what a horror game should be like.
You can see on the setting of his eyes, they're lightly drooped on the upper eyelids. Now, Sean's eyes rest this way somewhat anyways, but along with that, you can see that there's just an extra weariness, mini expression showing up around his eyes. And that's a telling mini expression for us. That is his actual emotion. He's not controlling that side of things. It's happening regardless of whether or not he wants it to. Now, as a nonverbal analyst looking at this, that lets me know that he's either extremely exhausted or not very happy. And the chances are it's both. It's probably both at this period. Along with that, because of those two factors, it comes across as less energetic, less passionate, and he almost seems uninterested in the content that he's making himself. And that's just a sign of a very discouraged creator.
Okay, this comes down to a lot of things, but I think there are some main points that a horror game should have and stuff that it should strive towards to create that sense of real horror. And
all right, and now you can see in his framing, in the camera itself, he's very stationary. He kind of just sits very, very still with occasional gestures in his hands, but he's sitting very, very still, very small in the frame. And that's communicating to me yet more insecurity and more worry. And this might be in regards to him talking to a camera. In fact, it likely is partially that, but it could be another bleed over effect from his personal life, his general mindset that he might not be very happy during this time. That's what his body language and his tone is showing me so far. Speaking on his tone though, you can hear that real gravelly, raspy strain has kind of faded out, but his accent isn't being fully realized. It still feels like he's trying to work around his personal accent, and that also plays into this insecurity that he has.
by the way, my opinion on what horror should be could be completely different than what another guy's definition of horror could be.
The classic in general, pushing away, it's putting distance between the person speaking and whatever negative thing that is being said, be it possible criticism, be it people who are going to be upset that he's saying something about horror games that they don't agree with. So he's saying a personal opinion, and he's putting distance between himself and the people that might be throwing criticism back at him. It's a very classic and very common tell. Anytime that you see somebody doing this, they're warding off something on some level, be it emotional or even physical at times.
Horror for someone else could be panic and trying to kill all these enemies really fast. And that's, I suppose Dead Space still has that kind of horror element to it. And if you like my stuff,
a little bit of sadness really creeping out in his face here. When he's swallowing, he's just preparing. This could be nervousness. A lot of people get a dry mouth when they're talking regularly or for long periods of time. But you can see this flash of sadness. And this makes my heart sad as watching this. He's obviously not happy here. He's very unhappy with what he's doing. It still is just saddening to see somebody who's really just having a hard time emotionally and mentally with life.
please subscribe. It helps more than you could ever know, and I'm extremely grateful to anyone who has subscribed to my channel, and I'm extremely flattered that anyone would subscribe to my channel and watch my stuff.
So during this time, he's having a little bit more trouble holding eye contact with the lens. He feels ashamed asking for subscribers at this time. He feels shame in being like, you know, it's really helpful, it does benefit, and it's true, it really does. Subscribing to his channel was huge. It was so helpful, and it really did benefit him. He's a very large and successful YouTuber now. But at that time, he had that shame. He doesn't have the self-esteem that's really backing those words. He's trying to ask for people's support, and mentally at this point in his life, from what his nonverbal communication is saying, he doesn't believe he deserves it. He doesn't believe that he should have that support. And that's very unfortunate. That's very sad. That's a tragic thing to see, somebody who's just so down on themselves that even when they're trying to present something as lighthearted as talking about what makes a good horror game, he's still extremely sad. Let's finish this little blip up.
So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see all you guys in the next video.
Obviously a very intentional hand gesture there, but he had a little bit of a tonal increase, and that usually lends it to being more repeated. It's a repeated phrase, so you can kind of slide into a certain tone every time you say it. And that's where this thing where if a person practices and practices and practices a lie, they will eventually get to where they can tell that lie that way excellently, flawlessly even, to where somebody like me as a nonverbal analyst couldn't pick up on it because they have done it again and again and again. So at this point, this is an odd spike in his nonverbal communication and lets me know that this is fake, because everywhere else it has been very mellow, very subdued, very somber even. And then in this little last blip, his tone pops up, his face lights up a little bit, and he does his gesture, and that lets me know that he has said this outro many, many times, or at least practiced it many, many times before recording it here. And that's unfortunate, because he's trying to force some energy in where there's simply not any energy. So my little synopsis of Jacksepticeye early on is he was not a happy creator, content creator. He definitely had some mental struggles and mental hurdles that he was working through and trying to create content that was engaging and entertaining, and obviously it worked. He's got plenty of subscribers now, but he was forcing that happiness and that joy in his other videos so overtly. He had no security in himself and no self-confidence in himself, and it's showing up on his nonverbal communication. So as he continues to grow and develop and become who he is as a person, hopefully we'll be able to see that reflect in his performance on camera. Now we're going to fast forward in time by about 4 years. And for those of you who don't know, Sean used to upload roughly 2 videos a day every single day. So he's had a lot of videos in between these times. So he's had a lot of practice. There should be a lot of different nonverbal communication. It should be a lot more fluid. Let's see what happens here.
Top of the morning to you ladies, my name is Jacksepticeye and I decided to make a vlog because there's some things that I wanted to talk about. I always say that I never want to make a vlog unless I actually have a focal point to talk about.
Woo!
Wow.
Okay, we'll talk about a different persona. He has absolutely stepped into more confidence, at least. I don't know so far in this what his mental state is showing, but he's at least more confident in his performance. That's why he's projecting so much, but you could still hear it. Even though he's projecting, and there's a way to project without sounding strained, he is sounding strained. It's still pushing his vocal cords. This isn't his natural talking timbre. This isn't his normal tone or pitch. It's being pushed. And you can hear that come out in the strain and the pitch of his voice as he's talking at a higher pitch, and it's very loud. It's very projected. But then along with that, his nonverbal communication in general has become a lot more animated. This is the side of things where I was expecting to see as he's developed, he would become more animated. He would learn how to use his hands more, he would move around in frame more, and that has indeed happened. Also, the hair. This has been the biggest thing on Jack's channel for many, many years, was his green hair. That was his thing. That was his look. Markiplier had red hair and Jack had green hair. That was his thing. So we see that, and it brings back some nostalgia for people who have been watching the channel for a while to see Jack with his bright, vivid, like candy apple green hair. Let's keep watching to see what he does with his nonverbal communication during this little spell in his life.
So this one I wanted to talk about the fact that I have an editor on the channel now. I know that that's going to sound very scary to a lot of people, or a lot of people are going to react negatively to hearing that, because I mentioned it on some, what was that weird sound that just came out? I mentioned it on some of the 2 live streams that I did recently. I did one on Twitch.
Okay, so he's emoting more on his face too. This is good to see, but he has some very stilted, nervous gestures. They're almost anxiety driven, to where when he's talking, like you could see him almost straining his muscles while doing things, and then he's fidgeting, doing some classic fidgeting with his hands, and you could see that they're just strained, and it's a little out of frame, so you can't really see it, but you could see just the tops of it here and there, and that indicates that he still has anxiety, and we know that he's forcing the projection of his voice. So with this in mind, that also can lend us towards the direction of him forcing the energy that he's projecting in general. Is it completely forced? No, it's actually not. He has good synchronization in areas, and especially even when he has the weird throat sound as he says it, he laughs and genuine mirth enters his eyes, and so this is synchronization. This means that Jack has been making videos for 4 years now and has improved dramatically, although it still has this over-the-top push to it. It still has this strain to it, both non-verbally and tonally as well.
On YouTube, and I mentioned that there was an editor helping me edit some stuff. I still edit a lot, or well, so some of the stuff I edit myself still. Like, this vlog will be edited by me, the Uncharted videos are all edited by me. I know there's not a whole lot in them, but some stuff is still being edited by me.
So he's still talking very fast and very very loud, but from what I'm seeing here, this is fairly synchronized, and you can hear that his tone has dropped a little bit. It's a little bit lower of a pitch and a little bit softer of a tone, and that means that he's getting closer to settling. It still sounds like he's almost yelling at you, and that is part of the persona that he was pushing at the time. He really wanted to come across as very energetic, very over the top, and a lot of people loved him for that. But then also, it was a pretty polarizing approach because some people really hated him for that. So you could see that coming out here, and non-verbally speaking, it's quite obvious that it is still fake. It's still a forced persona. Though he's doing it better, it's still noticeably fake.
Don't worry about that, but there's been someone helping me edit videos a lot recently.
That clearing of his throat, that's a sign that his vocal cords don't normally function in the way that he's pushing them to function. That need to clear one's throat is built out of strain on the vocal cords. So it's popping up here, just reinforcing that idea that though he seems more comfortable here, it is still a fake persona that he is putting on. And chances are, no YouTuber is going to be completely authentic on camera because it's almost impossible to be that way. There's always some level of performance. This is just a pretty high level of performance. He's really, really adding a persona to his character to come across in a specific way for people. And that actually is based off of a subconscious insecurity. That need and desire to put forth somebody that you're not is based off of insecurity. At this level, just an interesting side note as to what Sean's mindset might be right now.
And I didn't say it at first. I didn't say it exactly when it started because I wanted to make sure that it worked. I wanted to make sure that we had a workflow going and that it would actually be a viable option. I didn't want to say, oh yeah, there's an editor now, and then a week later, maybe it didn't work out. And then I'd have to go back and it's like, I don't have an editor anymore, and then go back and forth all the time. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, punch that like button in the face like a boss, and high fives all around. Whoosh, whoosh. Well, thank you guys. Now we'll see all you dudes in the next video. I need to get this haircut. Look at this disaster. Somebody get the hedge clippers.
Okay. Everybody knows that outro. It's a very loud, over-the-top outro. I was even considering doing both his intro and outro to this video. I don't have it in me today. I have no ability to do that. But then, speaking non-verbally, at the very, very end where he's talking about his hair, his tone is much lower and his pitch is much lower. All around, that is his natural speaking voice. That level is what he naturally speaks at. So if you were to have a conversation with him, like you and I are more or less having now, that would be the tone that he would use. So that means that earlier on, you could really see clearly that it was still a forced persona. Is he in a healthier mental state? Absolutely. It's showing that he is in a healthier mental state. But it's still showing insecurity that he isn't confident enough in himself and his own personality to be able to present that to camera, but he instead feels like he has to present this very loud, energetic persona to camera. Now, this next video clip is from here today. This is the most recent video that has been uploaded by Jack at this point, and it is another 4 years later. So there have been hundreds and hundreds of videos again, and he has aged. So we should be expecting to see a more mellow, more genuine and synchronized Sean McLaughlin appearing on camera than we have either of the previous 2 times.
Hey! Hey! What up?
What up? It's me. I'm back to doing this again. Can you believe it?
Well, okay, this is an interesting dynamic that we have going on here. On one half of things, Sean is showing synchronized body language in his face. It's very continuous throughout the top portion, middle portion, and bottom portion of his face. It's a genuine expression of mirth, at least on some level. He is genuinely feeling the happiness that he's showing. And you can hear him really having a high-pitched, forced tone at the beginning, and then he clears his throat, and it's a humorous thing. But what I'm going to point out non-verbally with him here is that he's doing a very obvious persona here. It's very obvious. It's satirically based persona performance. So he knows that this is very hammed up and he's showing it as such, and that's part of the humor for it. It's simply a different level of humor. Whereas before the persona that he was doing, that's what he wanted to present himself as to camera. This one, he knows that people know he's not that way, so it's a secondary level of humor that he's showing here. But now as he's talking, you could hear his tone has dropped to his conversational tone that we heard earlier. In the video 4 years ago, we heard that tone, that little tiny blip of it, we heard that, and now it's here. That's good to hear, because that means that now we're getting a very genuine Sean McLaughlin. That's exactly what you would like to be able to see in a creator, is a creator who is now so confident in and of themselves that they feel like they're able to put it out for the world to see on camera. That's what I'm getting so far non-verbally. Let's keep watching.
It's been so long since we've had a Funniest Home Videos. Did you miss it? Everybody keeps telling me they did. I'm going over here now. You all thought I forgot?
What if that's how I did all of my nonverbal reads? Would anybody take me serious? What if I decided that one of the days I was going to flip my chair around and just kind of koala onto the back of the chair and talk to you the entire time as the chair just kind of shifts and rotates whichever direction? I don't know. I think that would be a very, very humorous, skit, but I don't think it would really do a lot of good for any credibility whatsoever. But needless to say, he's doing it for a bit, and we enjoy it as a bit, and it's coming across as him being genuine, but genuinely goofing around. That's the way that his body language is communicating, and I know that people, just any viewer, can actually draw that out now. They can see that he's just hamming it up for the camera for the sake of hamming it up for the camera, not to try to trick anybody, but just to have a good time. It's really good to see.
That I didn't ever imagine about doing another Funniest Home Videos? You thought that... You actually thought that I did forgot about Funniest Home Videos. One of the most successful series on the channel.
His face is desynchronized right now. It's fully desynchronized. His eyebrows are doing their own thing, his eyes are doing their own thing, and his mouth is doing its own thing. And it's not coming across as false to us. And the interesting thing is that under different circumstances, it would come across as false to us. But we, as the viewer, understand that this is satire. So we can see that while he's forcing stuff, and it's obviously not genuine, he's still being genuine underneath that. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I'm sure it makes sense to a lot of you, but that's what I'm able to withdraw non-verbally as well.
One of the biggest bangers on the JSE. Nah, you're wrong. This is an actual, regular size bottle I've just shrunk. But it's back, baby! Funniest Home Videos!
Okay, looking at his eyes here, they're being animated now. They're not frozen the entire time. He's emoting with his eyes. And even now where he says, but it's back, baby, you can see it lightly creep into some of the areas around your eyes that you can't consciously control very easily. Some people can control it closely enough to where it can come across as genuine, but there are some levels of subconscious movement that we cannot control, and that's leaking out on some level. So that means that here, he's smiling here, and that is him being fully, genuinely confident and happy as it's showing in the subconscious leakage around his eyes.
It's been so long since we did one. I've been scouring the internet, looking for the best content to react to. Really diving hard and digging deep by going to Twitter and getting recommended stuff by you guys. I actually didn't do any of this work at all, but I'll take all the credit for it. And if you're excited for Funniest Home Videos to be back, hit that like button right now. About 40% of people that watch the channel aren't even subscribed. They're freeloading moochers. They're sitting around
So if you hear his accent, I did a cut there. That was at the beginning, and then we faded over to where he started talking about the demographic stuff, and you can hear that his Irish accent is now a lot stronger than it was earlier on. And the reason for that is because he spent an entire video one listening to somebody else who had an Irish accent, and people who have an accent and then spend time around or listen to somebody who has the same accent, their accent will strengthen. For instance, say you are from the South and you're visiting visiting somewhere up north. Well, while you're up north, your southern accent will fade some. It'll fade out a little bit. But then once you go down south again and you're around people that have that same accent, then that will richen again. It happens to everybody. And no matter where you are or where you go, it happens on some level. So he's doing that. But then along with that, he's also leaning into his accent a little bit. He's leaning into the classic, almost stereotypical Irish sounding accent. And it's just funny to listen to.
Watching the videos without any sort of commitment. Don't miss out. Don't miss out! Also, please leave a like on the video if you're excited for Funniest Home Videos to be back, and we'll do plenty more in the future. We've got a new overlord today, and his name is Ronnie.
All right, so there is 8 years of Jacksepticeye's body language, and boy, what a journey that was. At the very beginning, we got to see a very young and emotionally downtrodden person. He wasn't happy, he wasn't confident, and it showed. It showed very clearly to some, and maybe not as clearly to others, but his nonverbal communication, his tone, his performance in general really showed his anxiety and his low self-esteem at the time, and it was very disheartening to see. And then fast forward 4 years, and you still have the same anxiety and low self-esteem, but masked under a much more loud and rich persona, a rich performance that he pulled off quite well at his time. Be it your taste or not, it was well done by him. And then, as time went on beyond that, we can now see him today to where he is settled into who he is. He's settled into being Sean McLaughlin, Jacksepticeye, but it's him. He's presenting genuine him with maybe a little bit of just camera performance that has to be there. But it's him. And that's why people who subscribe to Sean today might not really see the development that happened in his life, the change, the maturing, just the self-confidence that really came into fruition in his life throughout time. And it's really, really good to see. I have to say that so far, Sean's development as a creator has been the most heartening to watch. To go from somebody just so sad to somebody who's just confident in who they are and what they're doing. It's fantastic to watch. And so I hope that you enjoyed this. If you have a creator or a celebrity or anybody who you would like to be able to see me look at them, analyze their body language throughout the annals of time, let me know in the comments below. And if enough people ask for the same person over and over and over again, I will get around to it. I hope that Jack can see this. He's back to making videos now, especially after a little difficult time here in his life. So I hope he can see this. I hope it makes it to maybe like his subreddit or something along those lines. I don't know how to, I don't understand Reddit. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But if you do, get it over there to him, because it would just be fun to see him react to that. And also, I would like to meet him. Selfish of me, right? But like I said, if you know somebody that you would like to be able to have me do, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. If you did like this video, hit the like button. Hit subscribe, obviously, if you haven't already, because I do a lot of videos. I do 2 videos a week. I try to make them pretty good. So if you want to subscribe, that's pretty cool. If you hit the bell, cool, thank you, I guess. But without further ado, that's all that I've got for the day. My name is Logan, and you have been oh so awesome, as you always are. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.